We hope everyone's having a fantastic week. From time to time, we get questions from doctors who are offering prepaid plans or long-term care plans or anything that would require a patient to or allow a patient to prepay for care. And without going into many of the caveats and challenges that potentially some of these plans bring into play, we're going to really talk about one aspect. And the primary aspect we're going to talk about is how those funds are to be kept or what happens if the patient ends or terminates early or doesn't fulfill the full plan over a full amount of whatever they may have paid. And we do have actions that have taken place by IDFPR and disciplinary actions in similar cases. And so here is the general rule. You have to equitably return the funds to the patient based on the care that they've received, not necessarily for what your actual normal, usual, and customary fees are in your office. In other words, if you give a discount for that prepaid plan and the patient terminates early, you can't use your usual and customary fees to indicate that they've already received the full amount of care and thus are not entitled to have any return of funds. Instead, whatever portion of the care that they've already received, you have to would go against what they've paid, and the remaining portion you would have to refund to the patient. So if we use a $1,000 total package, if you will, plan, and a patient pays the $1,000 up front, and you only perform or they only come in for 50% of the care, at that stage they decide to cease, you would have to return the other 50%, or in the $1,000 case, $500 to the patient. It wouldn't matter if the normal, usual, and customary fees in your office would be $2,000. Instead, that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you have to look at how much of the care have they received and how much has to be returned. Now, this usually adds another question into the mix, and the question is, do we have to escrow those funds? And the answer is, you legally do not have to escrow those funds. However, if you were to do a lot of these programs, we would strongly encourage, because of the possibility that a patient could cease care, that you would set aside those funds. That gives you the greatest amount of protection, but you have to have the funds on hand to be able to return those funds to the patient, because that's going to be a requirement if they don't fulfill the full amount. And that could be that the patient's reached MMI, they've decided to go see a different practitioner, or it turned out that they actually needed surgery, or whatever the case might be, or they move, or quite simply they just decide to cease care. At that stage, whatever that moment is, whatever the care that they have not received, you would be required to return that equitable portion back to them. Hopefully this information helps you out and keeps us a bit more compliant. We'll check you out next week. Thanks a lot.